This is our first and final warning for spoilers up to Andor Season 2, Episode 3. So be aware. I think I first watched Star Wars when I was maybe 7 years old. I didn't know too much about it. Nobody was there to guide me, so I just went in the chronological order, like in universe. 1, 2, like Phantom Menace, and then Attack of the Clones. I didn't watch it in the release.
Really? I think you're one of the first people I've heard like watch it in the chronological order. I feel like everyone on their first watch, and this is how the first watch should be, watches it in release order.
Yeah.
That's how I watched it.
That's how I'm going to make my sisters watch it when they grow up. But that's I remember my summer where I spent an entire week on Star Wars. And now I have grown up, and Star Wars was not always growing up with me. I feel like Star Wars was stuck at some place for some time, but I feel like now it's given me the confidence that it's ready to grow up, and it is growing up. I feel like there's some stuff going on at Lucasfilm or whatever where people are allowed to grow Star Wars up.
I think there was like the main reason I wanted to do this was the current release of the new season and all the adult topics it's dealing with, especially in this, obviously the spoiler, the rape scene with Bix. I think that was like probably the most adult themes we've had so far in Star Wars, but I think it wasn't like out of place, or like it was in the story and it made sense because Andor is more grown up, and I feel like that's what the fans want at this point. They have grown up watching Star Wars. Everyone is basically adults at this point, and people want to see these new adult stories. And I had a Star Wars class a while back, and I talked about like my whole final project was on how Star Wars needed a horror project, and there's so much potential for horror in Star Wars, but it's so like there's nothing in terms of that genre. Like there's so many different genres within Star Wars, and yet that one seems to be neglected the most. We have like some instances, kind of like Ewok Hunt and Battlefront 2, or like certain episodes in the Clone Wars, like the one with the Geonosian eggs with Ahsoka. It's basically just like a horror episode in a plot, but we really don't have like anything too much like into the horror aspects. And to get like an origin story of like Grievous, that's like a horror story of him being like taken apart by Dooku and taken advantage of, manipulated, and everything like that would be such a cool, like, I feel like that is the turn that Disney Star Wars needs to make. They need to take their own route. I mean, people talk about how George Lucas ran it better and Disney doesn't do it right, and they need to go back to the way he ran it. But they do need to do their own thing. And I think Andor is a very much a step in the right direction in terms of that. But they need to keep expanding on that for sure. They don't need to regress, especially with like the sequel trilogy. That was definitely a regression in terms of themes and adult topics. But I think with Andor, we're really expanding what everyone is interested in Star Wars, and the fan base is clearly enjoying what's happening in the show, and we're hopefully going to see more things like Andor in terms of adult topics, because finally we get to see like, you know, a little bit of anything that's like aged up in Star Wars. It used to be, and not to say that like a lot of people talk about how Clone Wars is a kid's show and there's a lot of killing, but I do appreciate the sort of topics that Clone Wars tries to deal with, and that's probably the closest thing we have to Andor in terms of adult themes and topics. We get a lot of like political corruption, a lot of like, basically in the prequel trilogy, it's black and white. You know, one side is bad, one side is good. The Separatists are bad, Republic is good. but the Clone Wars kind of like comes in and muddies the waters. We get to see like Mina Bonteri. We get to see how she's just like a good person, but she's a separatist and she supports Count Dooku. And then we get to see why Dooku strayed from the path in Tales of the Jedi and everything like that. And we also get to see like people like Asajj Ventress, who recently had a show in Tales of the Underworld. And hopefully we'll get to review that soon because I watched it and I loved it. I thought it was super good. I thought all of these Tales shows are really good. But my least favorite was Tales of the Empire. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I thought the stories were kind of lackluster.
I am very happy to see the fandom growing along with it. Very, I don't want to say happy, but they were very accepting.
Open to it?
Yeah, open.
Yeah.
To discuss these topics.
I think there's a good turn in Star Wars where they're being more open to things. They're branding out, like they're reaching out their IP and their universe to other people, especially with these Star Wars Visions, which I think we're getting a season 3 of. Yeah, we are. I think Star Wars Visions is so cool and interesting because we get to see Star Wars IP, and it doesn't have to be canon, who cares? But we get to see like other people take on the Star Wars universe and just like see it in their own creative ways. And I think that's super interesting to get to see. And all these like new people that Disney brings in get to bring in their own unique vision. And the one that Andor brings in is this super mature and adult themes. And with its rising popularity, I hope that Disney will shift into the new age of bringing these adult themes and topics. That said, I'm not very hopeful because I feel like there's a lot being put into the Mando-verse. And in my opinion, ever since season 3, and I think this is what most people think, nobody's very much interested in the Mando-verse. A lot of people are sick of it, myself included. There's a lot of story themes that is just obnoxious, boring, tedious to watch. I mean, I think it's super interesting to get to see a Mandalorian, like wander around and just be a bounty hunter and be a badass. But the second, and this is my opinion, the second like Grogu is introduced and like he has to carry around this child, it's like, okay, what are we doing? This is a redundant, tropey thing.
I'm not gonna even talk about Mandalorian because I'll be honest. Yeah, the first season was nice. It was really interesting, but I mean, like when I sat down to watch it, I would watch I would kind of binge it, but I just lost interest at some point. And don't tell this to anybody else. I don't think I finished season 2. I've been acting like
really?
I've been acting like I'm caught up on Mandalorian. I don't think I did.
Really?
Yeah.
I think season 2 was good. I think season 2 was better than season 1. I just think season 3 really ruined a lot of what was going on.
No, I started hearing how the show went downhill. When you hear that a show has went downhill, it kind of sucks the joy out of watching a show because at some point it's not going to be good anymore. And I was like,
yeah, but you didn't get to see the Boba Fett episodes. That means, right?
I did not. No,
that's crazy.
I've only the only thing I've seen was on YouTube with the Luke Skywalker clip.
Wow.
Is that even season 2? Is that even season 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
The hallway scene with Luke.
Yeah. Maybe one day I'll go back and finish season 2, but that's one of my little secrets I've never told anyone.
I appreciate you trusting me.
So while watching Andor, I've noticed this, but I love political dramas. I love, it's kind of like Game of Thrones where there's these plots and assassinations and whatever going on, like political maneuvering. And I feel like Andor has a little bit of that, but even then, it just shows me that shows like Andor, which is, Andor is not at all like Star Wars. Like when you think of Star Wars, you don't really think of Andor. You think of the Force. You think of, like
I don't think there's been any Jedi in Andor.
no,
Nobody significant. It's just like these ragtag group of rebels and these like Imperial officers, and all the main characters are like secondary characters, maybe even tertiary in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, like Andor is not what you think of when you think of Star Wars, and that makes it even better because a story like Andor is coming out of Star Wars, and on top of that, Andor is showing what a cool universe the Star Wars universe is. There's so much potential in this universe, and I think we shouldn't be hiring more, more Star Wars authors. We should be hiring more authors that can write stories in the Star Wars universe. I would like, you mentioned the horror movie concepts before. Maybe those will not make money. Maybe people won't watch them, but they will be really interesting to see. Or
there's no way a Star Wars horror movie would make money. Let's be so for real. It makes so much.
I don't know. Like it's just first, Disney would never make it because it's just so far out of bounds of child friendly, but it could make money, maybe. I don't know. I'm not gonna get we don't have to get into that right now, but I would just love to see like a whole. We don't even need to stay in the current era in the BBY. We can go back to the old Republic, the High Republic, whatever time. We can go to the future. The Star Wars universe itself.
We're getting that one movie about the origin of the Jedi, right?
I think we are, yeah. So maybe that will be good, but that's also still kind of tying into everything. I mean, yes, we can still have Jedi and the Sith because that's the main conflict of Star Wars. But I just think like Star Wars can have spy movies. They can have like heist movies. We can have so many things based in Star Wars is what I'm trying to say. Yeah?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I feel like they do play it too safe, and that's being a little like bold in order to like change up the genre. And obviously Disney these days just wants to make money, and they play it extremely safe, especially like just making remakes of old movies. So I see why they're doing it, but at some point it's not working. I mean, Snow White got like no one in it.
I heard they're making another movie with Rey. I don't know why they're doing that.
Yeah, they're making a Rey movie.
Like, what other story does she have?
Well, we got to see her die, I guess. People would love that.
All right. You should go watch Andor right now. That's what I will say to everybody watching. All right.
And we'll have a Tales of the Underworld video out sometime after this. So look forward to that.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell.
Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Don't let me leave, Merv. No! 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 No!